Happy Monday, everybody, and sorry for the technical issue. We have had some stuff going on here with the Wi-Fi, but now we're back and ready to go. Hope you're doing well. Let's get right to it. Justin and Conundrum. Hey, everybody, how you doing? Hey, Justin, what's going on? The silence from both the ACC and Cal since Friday has been so suspenseful. It is almost too quiet. I really think they've got to come to some resolution, Justin, here in the next couple of days at least. I don't think they want to get to the end of the week without some semblance of understanding of what's going to happen. This really is just they're still a vote short. I've seen nothing that said that any of the four votes against them, which is Clemson's, Florida State, North Carolina State. I don't think any of it's not changed. So I don't know what it's going to take to change it, but that's where we are right now. And then, there's still the Stanford situation with Stanford. Are they going to go independent? Will they go back and try to craft a deal with the other three schools left and build, a brand new Pac-12 or Pac-8, Pac-10, Pac-12, whatever. I don't know. Well, we're going to have to find out. We're going to have to find out soon. That's for sure. They don't have a whole lot of time. Excuse me just for a second. Here we go. How you doing, buddy? Good question, by the way, Justin. What you got for me? Game of the week. Go Hawkeyes. There you go. That's Kinnick Stadium's a great place to go for a football game. And Iowa has always been fun. Good people out there. Good tailgaters out there as well. So, yep, this is it. Week 0. I bet you're excited. We're all excited. Something to actually watch. Can't wait to learn about what's going on with the ACC. You know what, D-Rock, you're not the only one. There's a lot of people who can't wait to go see what's going on with the ACC. I don't know. I mean, the Cal, Stanford, and SMU all decided that they would they would all work together to get it was basically a 3-team deal. I didn't see anywhere where they wanted to do a standalone, like just take Stanford and not Cal and SMU. So for some reason they're all tied together here. And so, but this time it doesn't really matter at the moment because they just don't have the votes, and hopefully we'll find out more about that. But you know what? D-Rock, you're okay. Louis Gay. Okay, he's paying all. Everyone keeps. The exit fees have to be paid for by the university and entering the conference. So that would mean that any and all exit fee for all these exit fees. Again, the exit fee you have to. Let's say we'll take for instance. Let's say Tulane. Well, SMU. SMU wants to leave the AAC or the American. They would have to pay the American what the exit fee would be. It's a 28-month exit, so that means they really wouldn't be there for 2 years. That potentially could be negotiated down, and so could the money, but it's going to have to be paid by SMU or Tulane or if it's the Mountain West, San Diego State. I mean, so any one of those has to pay their way to get out. And you got to follow up. Who's paying the exit fees for PAC? I don't just understand how this works. Yeah, the thing is that when you are invited to a conference, okay, you must assume responsibility for exiting the conference you are leaving, okay? You have a grant of rights, which we all know about them now. The grant of rights requires that a university to either, to get out of a contract, which is what you're doing, you're getting out of a contract, pay the other members of that contract, the exit fee, okay? So that has to be paid by the university who is leaving to go to the other conference. It can't be paid by the conference asking. In other words, if it can't be paid by the ACC to bring them in. Okay, that's not how it works. It's you've got to pay, the university pays to get out of the contract. So that's how it works. And so any school who would be entering the PAC would have to pay to get out of the contract that they're in, and there would be an amount of time. You remember, not that long ago, how much Texas and Oklahoma had to pay the Big 12, which was, at the end of the day, was close to $100 million total. So yeah, I mean, they're going to have to pay that to get out of the out of whatever conference, be it the American or the Mountain, to join the PAC. And that's where we find ourselves in a pretty interesting situation. Is they're going to have to work on if the PAC decides to reinvent themselves and become the PAC, 8, 12, 14, 16. They're going to have a media contract, because why would you pay 17 or $20 million to get out of one conference where you're not going to make, you only make maybe $2 or $3 million more than what you're making. It's like $7 million in the American, and I think it's $4 or $5 million in the Mountain. Even if it's 10 or 12 million to join the PAC, that's you're gonna pay it out and then jump into it. The other thing you're gonna want to know is how long, if at all, beyond 2025, that they can stay at Autonomous 5 conference. So there's a lot more questions than they have answers for right now, and I think that's what concerns both Oregon State and Washington State, because they really don't know what they can do or how they can approach it. So they have to wait to see what happens in Stanford and Cal. Antonio, why isn't Memphis talked about? They were better than teams that left the AAC. I don't know. I mean, it's they've been vetted, by I'm assuming the the ACC, the Pac-12. Memphis is a good location. It's good basketball, good football. I really, Antonio, I think that Memphis was hot. Remember, just Bowlesby was adding teams. I think had they not added Houston, they probably would have added Memphis instead. But there was, if you recall, a lot of money coming in from the Houston guy who helped spur that on. Perhaps Memphis will be part of a new Pac-12. Maybe it may be part of an old a new ACC down the road. But I think Memphis is one of those teams he'll end up hopefully in a Power 5 conference in the not too distant future. So we'll see. Don't give up hope there, Antonio. There's plenty of time to get there. All right. Is that who pays? I'm just curious who's going to pay with no deal, but you're not. That you bring up a point, a very, very good point. Right now, the AAC has a better contract than the PAC. What for at this point? So you wouldn't jump. Like I said, you don't jump until you find out where you're going, right? How much money could they give us to be a member of their conference? So right now, it's a matter of what they meaning the PAC, if they were to rejoin, reinvent themselves, they would have to, first thing they'd have to do is create a TV deal or find a TV deal. And then what they would do is they would take a list of potential members. They would then go to their media partners and say, look, if we put this package together with these schools, approximately how much money could we get? So then they would go back with that understanding, and then they would begin to talk with potential members. So they would have a good idea of what kind of money they would be getting. They're going to have to make some sort of deal, or at least have deal points in place before they would ever do that. Because, look, at the moment, once the season is over, the AAC will be right behind the ACC in paying, and the Big 12 in paying their members. So you'd be foolish to jump if you didn't know what you're going to get. And also if you didn't know if that conference was going to stay a Power 5 conference, which we don't know at this point beyond 2025, because that's when they reevaluate everything. So there's a lot, as I said, there's a lot more questions than there are answers at this point in time with that regard. And in the case of, SMU folks are really getting a little antsy here, because if they don't go to the ACC, is there any possibility that they reinvent the Pac? I wouldn't. Timing is a very important thing here, guys. I wouldn't. It may make more sense for the Pac to merge with the American or merge with the Mountain West, because that would give them time that they presently don't have. So let's see. Let's see what happens. Conundrum. Marketing-wise, why doesn't Pac name offer more? Doesn't marketing-wise, the Pac name offers more than Mountain West. Name in the event of a merger. I assume they would come up with some different name, like the American came when the American left. The folks at the at the Big East, they became the Americans. So I would assume that they would come up with some name, because of the Mountain West Conference. So look, that would be, if they decided to come together with the Mountain West, naming it would probably be the least of their concerns. The one thing about the Mountain West, which is, I think it's underreported, is the Mountain West is up for their TV deal in 2 years. So it might, they may make a good partner for, for what's left of the Pac, or frankly, if it's just Oregon State and Washington State, which are both fine programs, they may just jump over to the Mountain West, because perhaps they can bring more money to the Mountain West as things go on. So one way or another, it'll be interesting to find out what Oregon State and Washington State do, because frankly, Oregon State has a team this year could certainly they're a dark horse to win the entire Pac. So it'd be interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see how that works out. And submit your names. Conundrum. If you got a name that you like, submit it in the comments below. By the way, you guys can always put comments in the comments below. I'll get to them later. If you forget a question or something and you want to get answered, definitely put it in the comments below. Also, if you get a chance, and greatly appreciate it, subscribe, hit the bell, like us. Okay, that all is important. All right, but thank you very much. All right, what do we got here? KJ, how you doing? Why do people make the assumption that SMU brings Dallas? I don't know. They bring. They have history in Dallas. They have some very heavy duty boosters in Dallas. But if you're not named the Cowboys, I'm not sure what college brings the big money into Dallas. From a standpoint of watching television, possibly it's Texas, maybe Texas A&M, but SMU has a representation in Dallas from both the newspapers follow SMU, TV stations follow SMU, and there's a local interest in it. So I think that has something to do with it, and you count. It allows a network to count a market size. Okay, so they count the Dallas market, but to what extent the Dallas, SMU is a brand in the Dallas market, is yet to be seen. Dallas is a very good professional sports town, so I don't know that the colleges get their the two newspapers, the Dallas Morning News and the Fort Worth Star Telegraph, all give them plenty of coverage in, or TV stations, as I said. But what it does is, if it's the ACC, then the ACC gets to put the ACC network in Texas, which they have not. It's there, but they get a bump in fees. So maybe that's what they're concerned about at this point. But good question. Hey, Nevstar, how are you doing? Would LSU cripple their athletic department? Yeah, no, 100%. You're absolutely right. Part one is, I agree with you. Part two, I also agree with. You go from $20 million, right, to $5 million. So yeah, that's definitely gonna put a hurt on your athletic department. So if the Mountain and the ACC merged, they probably would be able to get, maybe $10 or $12 million per team. But that would be the first super conference. And I think that would make some sense. It would be worth looking at. That's for darn sure. So yeah, first part, I agree with both of your observations there, that Oregon State and Washington State would be in deep. They would definitely have to cut a bunch of programs, and which would be sad, but that's the way it works, unfortunately. And if they could get the WAC, the Mountain West and the American to merge, that would be a very good thing. So hopefully we'll see how that plays out. Greg, do you think the ACC helps ensure their long-term viability by adding Stanford and SMU? I don't think it hurts, Greg. I don't think it hurts. Stanford is a brand, and I think that Stanford could compete well in the ACC. Could they compete with Clemson and Florida State? Maybe, but maybe not for a while. Cal, has had ups and downs. SMU, I think SMU is on the rise. So I think they do add value. Now, how much value do they add? I don't know. And I think that's the problem right now. I think that ESPN, who's the ACC's partner, is trying to ascertain, and evaluate what exactly does this bring to us. Okay, how much? We know that the Stanford name, we know the Cal and SMU all add value, but how much value is it? And that's probably what's holding up this deal, is the evaluation of their universities and what they bring in total to the conference. So yeah, I think that's probably what's keeping us from finding out. And I think, as I said, we'll probably find out this week. And it's right now, I think it's a 50-50 shot. I mean, I don't think that I don't think it's over yet, but there's gotta be movement sometime. You can't do this forever. So we'll see. Thanks, Greg, for that one. Hey, we got there, Mr. Watson. Who in the AAC, if SMU were to leave, who would they add? It's a good question. I don't know. Who would you want them to add? I don't. There's a couple of Conference USA teams I assume that they would want to look at. I don't know. I really hadn't thought about that. It's a good question. Why don't you hit me up and let me know what you think? Who should they add from your standpoint? The AAC doesn't even have to negotiate. They can just 27 months and no negotiations. That's true. They don't have to, and neither does the Mountain West. Because they played hardball with San Diego State. Now, yeah, I agree, Louis. I do. I agree. We talked about that. I do agree that the Mountain West, if you merge the Mountain and the American, it would be a very strong G5 league, and probably competitive enough to put a team in the playoffs every year. And I'm talking about how the old playoff system worked, not just the new one. So it's a good question and a good. I agree with you, Louis. Justin, what you got for me? Read on SI Story ranked the 2025 ACC recruiting class was Stanford, Cal, and SMU. Stanford was number 4 in the conference. Stanford had a heck of a recruiting class. And I think kind of some people miss that. One of the things Stanford has found out is that some of the kids that they've been recruiting, Justin, is that some of these kids have come from the Ivy League. Some of them come from the Patriot League. I mean, there's some kids that can really, can really ball. They can play, and I think that the new coach there has really gotten people amped up about it. So yeah, I mean, it's really going to be fun to see what Stanford does. Now, Stanford, do we think Stanford's going to be the best team in? I mean, the pack is loaded this year. I mean, that's the irony of the whole thing, right? You've got probably 4 quarterbacks that are up. We've got the reigning Heisman Trophy winner in the conference, and everybody's talking about Michael Penix Jr., who's the quarterback at Washington. So, and you got Cam Rising over at Utah, who may or may not be ready for that first game against Florida this week. And you've got Bo Nix over at Oregon. So you've got some kids that can play quarterback in that league. And Stanford, might not be there yet, but they're not going to be that far behind. I mean, you remember, it's been a little less than a decade. It's been maybe 8-10 years that, that Stanford with Harbaugh and then Shaw afterwards, they were right in there. They were continually winning, 8, 9, 10 games a season. And that, things changed a little bit, but Stanford can recruit. And even if without the NIL money, I think that their people want to play at Stanford. So we'll see how that works out. But yeah, it's interesting. Number 4 is not bad. If USF and Memphis get back-to-back winning, that would be fantastic. The Bulls would be good. Those 2 schools, USF and Memphis, I think are. And I would add Tulane into that, maybe Rice. If you're USF and Memphis, you gotta worry about winning the AAC. You gotta win the American. You gotta prove to people that you can win. Both of them schedule powerhouse teams. They don't hide from playing, big out of conference. I mean, BYU came to play South Florida last year. Alabama is coming to play USF. I think it's the second or third game of the season. Memphis the same way. They play tough out of conference. But you've got to, Memphis is one on the basketball court. They've got to win consistently on the football field. USF used to win. It hasn't been that long. It's been back to 2018. Winning football games. They went to 3 bowls in a row. Beat I think they beat SEC teams in all 3 of those bowls, and they have had some problems recently on the football field and on the basketball court. So timing has been bad for that. So if USF and Memphis, Tulane and Rice, if they can all be battling up there and at the top of the group, I think that would be good, not only for the universities, but it would be good for the American, and it'd be good for them, what they can do down the line. So 100% agree with you, Antonio, about, that's going to help. It's going to look, you need to be a contender, and look what it's done. I mean, look what Cincinnati really wasn't that much of a contender prior to, they had a 3-year run with Luke Fickell that got them to the playoffs, and, there they go. Then we had UCF before that, and now Tulane, who went out there last year, and in the Cotton Bowl dismissed a good USC team. So yeah, I think USF and Memphis have to prove that that they are just as good. They're already good academically. Let's see if you can prove it. Now, Memphis has always had a good basketball team, and they've had representative football teams. I think part of the problem is with Memphis is that they've got to get that Liberty Bowl thing straightened out. That's a huge one. Now, I don't know about I don't know that USF has to have an on-campus stadium. I mean, I've always thought that necessarily hasn't been the biggest thing they need to worry about. You win, people go to Raymond James Stadium and watch you play. The problem with the Raymond James is they don't have a very good deal there. That's the reason they want the on-campus stadium. So in the case of both USF and Memphis, 100% agree that what they need to do is win. Winning cures a lot of stuff. So let's see if the Bulls and the Tigers can do that. Greg's back. Can Navy, excuse me, can Navy give Notre Dame a game? Yeah. Navy, since Coach Ken, got fired. Navy has. I don't know that they can vet this year. Notre Dame's got a much better team. Navy likes to run the triple option. Notre Dame's got a good defense. I don't think Notre Dame can. I'm sorry, I don't think Navy can beat Notre Dame. What we'll do is we'll have Pete Medhurst on, who's the voice of the Navy, and we'll let him make the case for whether or not Navy and Notre Dame can, Navy can give Notre Dame a game. So I'll tell you what, we'll see if we can get Pete on here this week before, and we can chat about that. He's also the Washington Nationals voice. He does a 3-hour radio show every day here in the Washington area, and also is voice on the Big Ten Network. So we'll get him here, and Pete Medhurst will know what's going on with Navy. He can give you a little bit more insight on that. But right now, man, Notre Dame's a pretty good team. Now, Navy has always given Notre Dame fits, so it's possible. But I think that replacing some of the kids they lost was a problem with Navy. But I enjoy watching Gun. If you ever get a chance, go to the stadium down there and watch the game in Indianapolis. It's a lot of fun. KJ, what's up, dude? Okay. As long as Mike Aresco stays, I'm confident America will be fine. You're right. Mike has done such an amazing job of building these universities. I mean, Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston should all be sending him, a nice bottle of wine or whatever, beverage he drinks, because Mike has just been beating the drum for a long time on, how good the American conference is and how good the teams are, and he has been tireless in his efforts to make sure that the conference has always been at the top of the group of 5 teams, and he's done a magnificent job. I don't know many people know that Mike and Tony Petitti worked together at CBS. It was Mike who made the deal for CBS and Turner to join together to bid on the NCAA tournament, and so Mike knows television. He's a very good administrator. He's a great commissioner. He's a great advocate for all the teams that are in the conference. And frankly, I'm stunned that no one has poached a big conference and poached them. I guarantee you this, 100% guarantee you this, and this is no slamming George Kliavkoff at the PAC. If Mike were the PAC commissioner, they probably wouldn't even have lost Notre Dame. USC and UCLA. He would have known that what something is going on down there. So I 100% believe that. Yeah, I agree with you that Mike's not going to be a problem. He's an asset, and like I said, he and Tony Petitti, who's now the Big Ten commissioner, are very good friends. They used to have offices down the hall from each other, and they're big. They know college football, and Tony, in his realm, he started the Baseball Network, MLB Network, which I think they did a great job on that. he moved over to being Rob Manfred's number 2 guy at Major League Baseball, so he knows the contracts and the coaches and how to negotiate with them. So there's 2 guys in Oresco and Petiti who are TV lifers, and I think that they've benefited their university. I mean their memberships, and certainly Mike, because he's been there longer. Tony's just been on the job for a couple of months now, but if you look at what Mike's done, it's pretty amazing in that time. And he always if he has to add more teams, he adds more teams, and he works with them to make them as good as they possibly can be, facilities wise, and all the way down to hiring coaches. So I agree, Mike. I'm a big fan of Mike's. He's very good, very knowledgeable. So let's see, guys. Let's see. All kinds of interesting stuff going on. As I said before, right now, I feel bad for Oregon State, Washington State, because they're literally in a stasis atmosphere to find out, and they really only have to. I mean, at the end of this year, yes, they've got a 2-year contract. They'll, I'm sorry, a 2-year grace period. The Pac has a 2-year grace period to expand, but if you've got 27 months or whatever it is in the mountain as well, you still have to figure out what's going to happen. So yeah, they had 2 years, but they don't have 2 years to figure it out. They have to make sure that they can get that thing done, and it affects everything else. I mean, there's a whole bandwagon mentality here where, okay, if Stanford and Cal and SMU go to the ACC, then there won't be a Pac. Forget it. It won't happen. So that affects any of the universities who had hoped to get into the Pac. If that allows, that would make Oregon and Washington State free agents, and so I assume they would look at both the Mountain West and the American and decide if they would want to go there. If Stanford and Cal do not get into the ACC, then there's the question: do they rebuild? Rebuild, or do they just keep? Or is a merger the best way to go? So we'll see in that regard. Even with 2 years out of the schedule, no, it's not just. It's you're right, KJ. First of all, scheduling is one thing, recruiting is another. You've got, because as you know, coaches recruit in cycles. So I'm recruiting my 2026 class or 2025 class. So you're 2 years ahead. So how do you recruit somebody when you don't know what conference you're going to be in? You're going to say Pac, but you don't know who's in the Pac. So you're at a tremendous disadvantage. You also don't know, and this is the case, there was a question brought up earlier about the Olympic sports. So, how many sports are you going to have to cut? So that's it. Budgets are yearly, but in an athletic department, you want to get some budget security. And none of this is giving anybody any security. And not everybody's got a $38.2 billion endowment fund like Stanford does. And maybe they're willing, and we've all read, and we don't know this to be true, we'll find out, that Stanford and SMU would forego or take a small portion of the pro rata money that they would get for joining the conference. But for Cal, we remember this for Cal when UCLA went to the Big Ten, there was some heavy duty negotiating that went on in the Board of Regents for the state of California. So we'll have to see. And look, people were talking about the Apple deal. Well, the Apple deal was for 9 schools, and they knew what the 9 schools were. A new Apple deal is going to require finding out who potentially would be the members and where are they. So I wouldn't assume that Apple would do a deal right off the get-go. Just, there's a lot again, there's a lot of unknowns here, and it's not helping anybody. Today is my first day Friday. Every day, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. we do that, and this is our second full week. I've done this, Stream On now for 3 years on a weekly basis, and there's was so much information that I thought that we could have fun doing this, every day for Monday through Friday for a while and have some fun at it. I'm glad that you dropped by, KJ. You brought a lot to the party, as everybody else has here as well. It's always fun because you guys give me questions. I try to give you feedback, and we'll talk more with guests. We'll also talk more down the road about the TV business and where it's going, where it's headed. I mean, the big rumor, and that's all it is a rumor, is that on Wall Street, they're betting that Apple and ESPN get together because ESPN Plus is losing money, and they think that if the two of that, if Apple and ESPN were together in some sort of partnership or whatever, that Apple would be the distributor, which is what they really like doing, not necessarily the production part. ESPN has a production expertise, and so perhaps that is something down the line. I mean, as I said, go to Front Office Sports. They have a big piece on ESPN and the potential, and also awful announcing does as well. I don't know. I mean, it's way too early for that to happen, but anything's possible. I do think that there's going to be a lot of consolidation in streaming and in what goes on. Okay. Which would look worse for the ACC? Having this 2-week dance with Stanford, ultimately rejecting them, or allowing 2 or all 3 of them to enter the conference without payout. I don't think either of them looks good, frankly, Justin. You should be able to make up your mind as to whether or not you want 3 new teams, okay? They know what the impact's going to be. They know what the pro rata is, because that's kind of something that ESPN, you remember the pro rata was a question when the 4 schools went from the Pac over to the Big 12. So yeah, pro rata is a very important part of it. But look at how quickly, when Brett Yermark and the Big 12 needed to make a decision on those 4 schools. Well, it was actually Colorado came first, but then it was the 3 schools. It was pretty much an overnight deal. The thing that we see now, Justin, is that if the ACC were committed to this, if they really truly wanted them, then there wouldn't be a problem. But clearly, it is not. Everybody doesn't want them. I don't know that. Let's say, look, FSU, Clemson, and Carolina and Carolina State, who are voting against them. I don't know that they don't want them there. I think that what they're saying is, oh, wait a minute, that brings 3 more votes, which we have to then get through, and there's 3 more mouths to feed, and we already are down in revenue to what we want. So how does this help us? And right now, clearly, Stanford, Cal, and SMU have not been able to make a case that they do help them enough to get Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina State to move. They only need to move 1 vote, and right now they can't get any of them to vote in their favor. So that portion of it shows that there is a riff in the ACC as to what they want to do. So there's that. And then you said allow 2 or all 3 of them into the conference with no payout. Again, that I don't know that hurts the ACC as much as it hurts. It certainly makes the other 3 schools look desperate. Stanford, Cal, and SMU, that they're willing to take it. Now, here's a problem for Cal. Cal has to get money. They have to. Or I'm sure that the Board of Regents wouldn't have approved them leaving. So let's say Stanford takes a third of what is offered them, and maybe SMU does the same thing. So maybe the most money of the three goes to Cal to make it easier for Cal to get in. But there's that end of it as well. So they're just there's no winners in this. I mean, because then look at what happens to the pack goes away because Oregon State and Washington State don't have dance partners anymore. So, so Justin, what you put up there is likely a problem, but it's definitely something that they clearly have to address, and both of them optically aren't good. One, it's not good for the conference if they can't make up their mind, and two, it's not good for the three schools because literally they've in essence paved their way into the conference. So it's not a good look anywhere around. And I'll hesitate to say paid, but certainly attempted to get in without having to worry about the money, which it's not a good look. Now, if they win the conference 2 years down the road, then who knows? But one other thing about that, I mean, the ACC, if you're FSU and you've spoken this way, right? About FSU has talked about how much they're worth. Clemson talks about how much they're worth, not as much as FSU had. And you don't win the conference, then you're in trouble. I mean, you can't. You lose all the credibility of your argument. So, FSU's got a big target on their back this year. You can't talk what they talked in the way of trash and not get away, and finish second or third in the conference. You got to win. And Mike Norvell has a whole lot of pressure on him. Dabo Swinney hasn't they've had some problems at Clemson. Clemson's got to win. So this is it's as much a show me. If you're gonna say we deserve all this and you're not helping us get it, then you have to prove that you deserve it. And that's what FSU and what Clemson's going to have to do this year. And like I said, there's going to be a target on their back. Regardless of Stanford and Cal, does the ACC exist? I do, Greg. And I think this is there's a lot of programs there that are worthy of saving. I mean, nobody sees Duke on the list of going anywhere. Nobody sees, Virginia Tech, Pitt, Syracuse, Boston College. I mean, Miami isn't on the list of, would they go or Duke go? Depends on where they want to, what they want. But I think that the ACC, can survive past 2027. And remember, the contract goes all the way to 2036. So, there's 9 more years on the contract, from there. But I think that they can exist. I mean, at this point in time, nobody's getting out. So if they can figure out, if FSU can figure out a way to break the grant of rights or put up the money or whatever, I don't know, but a lot of it's going to depend on what happens to all these next TV contracts, right? Because I think that we kind of touched the top of the list on how much money television networks are going to spend. I don't think that we're going to see another Big Ten deal in the amount of cash that's going to be spent by the networks. As I said before, it's going to be consolidation. You're going to have a lot of more partners and pieces of a pie, as opposed to having the whole pie. And so we'll see how that goes. But Greg, I do think that they'll last again. The grant of rights is until 2036, so there's no reason to believe that they can't hang in there till that time. But we're gonna, the Big Ten and the SEC, and I mean, the entire college landscape. There's a ton of lawsuits that are waiting out there in the woods. There's things that are going on in Congress. States have enacted some stuff. We just saw Missouri enacted a law that said that if you are if you're committed to a school in the state of Missouri, then then you can get NIL money while you're in high school. But if you're committed to another school, you can't. So, I mean, there's going to be a whole bunch of things change between now and 2027, then, into the next conference, TV contract, which comes up in 2030-ish, that sort of time. So, yeah, look out. There's interesting things coming up. Would it be funny if it would be funny to FSU, but it would not be it wouldn't be a good talking point for them when they're talking about, I mean, they're actually talking about two different things. In fairness to FSU, they're talking about the fact. Okay, let me finish this one in the conundrum. I'll get to that one, and we'll take one or two more questions. Excuse me. The FSU is talking about their TV ratings and about the brand extension, right? So that they get the top ratings. And Florida State is a national brand. They haven't played well enough. And full disclosure, I used to do a ton of Florida State football, so I know the Bowden history and how it went. And it's a good brand. It's still got a national brand. But, you can talk about all the TV numbers you want to. If you're not winning on the field, it doesn't help. So, yeah, would it be funny? It would be funny at FSU, but it may. I believe most of the people in the ACC office who's been getting grief from this would have some sort of laugh about that fact. So that's a good question, though. All righty. Conundrum. Can NBC push Notre Dame into Peacock viewership to get them to join Big Ten or suffer the financial consequences? I don't think so. We have an interesting thing. Pete Bevacqua, who is coming on as the athletic director of Notre Dame. Jack Shelwick is going to resign at the end of retire, I should say, not resign, at the end of the year, and Kurt Bevacqua is going to come on. Now, or Pete Bevacqua is going to come on. Pete was the president of NBC Sports, so I think pretty good chance they can figure out a way. They're not going to push them to join the Big Ten. There's nothing they can do to push them into Big Ten in that. Now, here's what they can do, and I think you hit part of it here. Notre Dame is still a national ratings draw, so you definitely want, that. You want the ratings draw. So they can split Notre Dame's money between Peacock and NBC. So it's quite possible that, they do, let's see, 6 or 7 games in Notre Dame a year. Maybe they can do 4 on NBC and 2 on Peacock, or 4 and 3 or something like that to justify. And again, all the games are on Peacock because NBC simulcasts all their major sporting events on Peacock streaming anyway. So, but there could be exclusive to Peacock games, and that could be 3 of those because they have an 8-game package right now with the Big Ten, where that's the case. Or there's a potential where they might bring, let's say, another bidder into the mix. But I do think that Notre Dame's going to get a chunk of money here. It's not going to be what they want, but it's going to be enough, and they'll stay for another cycle. They'll stay independent. How long they can stay independent, I think we'll see. But again, you're paying an incredibly large amount of money for 6 or 7 football games, which I think NBC will not. I don't think NBC wants to lose it, and I think the fact that Pete Bevacqua is there now, or will be there when the negotiations continue. He certainly understands how it works since he's done it for the last couple contracts. So that's an interesting little fit. For FSU shake, the Dallas Cowboys are a good example where you can have high value. That's true. That's a very good point. Dallas Cowboys haven't won a Super Bowl since 1994, and they haven't had a very good playoff history, but they are the value in the NFL. So your point, sir, is well taken. All right, gang, tell you what, we got to get going here, but if you've got any further questions, please leave them in the comments and I will get to them as soon as I can. It's always a pleasure. We'll see you tomorrow, and we'll be lining up some guests coming up here in the not too distant future. Can't thank you all enough because it's always fun to chat, and you guys are you bring good questions, and I respect that. You're knowledgeable and it's fun. Okay, we make it fun, and we all learn something. Learning something is not a bad thing, so that's a good deal. So thank you, sir. The comments aren't open. They should be open the moment we stop. Okay, so that's how that works. So or you can shoot me a DM in my on my Twitter. Okay, so either way, but the comments should come on after, because we're doing a live chat. In live chat, they don't have comments, so you can put your comments in when the moment we sign off here, which will be just a second. All right, gang, have a wonderful day. It's been a pleasure being with you today on this Monday, and we'll see ya on the other side. Okay, take care, everybody. Have a nice day.